This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean, and Pierre Novellie is with us this morning. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. I went slightly off mic, then no one noticed.
It's all right.
Okay.
Morning, boys.
Morning.
Morning, gents.
Morning. Yes. You don't hear that very often.
Well, I've told you before, when do you hear it? You hear it when Piers Morgan is leaving his house addressing the paparazzi or members of the media. Morning, gents.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Faye, much name checked on this show, is producing today with Molly riding pillion. And Sarah Bishop, our normal producer, is at
Normal.
Something, I might get the title wrong. It's something like the British Country and Western. Is it awards?
Festival.
It's a festival, the British Country and Western Festival in, of course, Blackpool.
Yes.
At the Gay Tower Ballroom. Is it still called that?
I have no idea.
It used to be called the Gay Tower
tough
Ballroom.
room, Frank.
Pardon?
Tough room.
Yeah.
Asking me and Pierre, what is it called, the ballroom at Blackpool?
Yes. Anyway, so they're up there. I'm guessing line dancing like there's no tomorrow.
Do you think they'll be cracking out the door?
You can line dance to other songs.
Can you, though?
I have.
Frank actually he loved his line dancing. I remember that, Frank.
Oh, yeah.
You were very passionate about it.
Well, I went through
What
a
happened?
period of profound loneliness, and the nice thing about line dancing is you don't have to take a partner. You can just go and dance. So I would drive to Hendon.
Sure.
And attend a mass sort of line dancing thing with a lady in a Stetson on stage with what we used to call a Madonna microphone, which I believe young people call a microphone. And she would lead us through, and it's great. And then you just go home alone, and no one knows for sure that you weren't accompanied. Okay.
I imagine you have to wear a belt with a very large buckle.
You don't have to. Some weeks I did, and some weeks I've actually got a John Wayne buckle.
Oh, yeah.
You know, these are detachable
That sounds
buckles.
nice.
Yeah. I used to have a few buckles that I could choose from. I had an Ozzy Osbourne buckle as well. Yeah.
Mid-eating bat.
That's my
The
no.
line dancing is very good for the shorter man because of the. It's a way, you can introduce the heel. You get that extra 2 inches.
Oh, yeah, the Cuban heel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never went for the cowboy boot.
Do you not?
No. It's hard to drive in, I find. I have to get to Hendon. I don't want to be like, that thing when you're in a car and you're going to change your shoes. You can't work out where you put your feet. Do you put the shoes on the ground? And then put your feet into them, or do you bring them and they're by the pedal? They're on the pedals. Oh man, no, I don't want that. So I just went there and I danced in my straightforward footwear.
Lovely.
I must have gone there 6 or 7 times, and then
He's done it all, Pierre. He had an ice skating period. Do you remember that, Frank?
Yeah, most of these were anti-loneliness devices.
One of Batman's lesser discussed accessories.
The trouble is, I was learning to ice skate, and they used to queue. I used to go in for a lesson when it was closed.
I came to watch you once.
Yeah.
I did tell you I was there.
Yeah. Well, what would happen is people would be queuing for when it opened, so I'd be in there just before. So there would be a load of people watching me ice skate incredibly badly. And once I remember the guy was trying out it was a stand-in guy for the music or something, and I was ice skating very, very tentatively, and suddenly it went dun 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 dun, with all these people watching like some grotesque pantomime of humanity in crisis. I didn't enjoy that.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Here's a thing. There's There's been a lot of talk about the cost of living just lately, which is, I mean, I can't ever remember anything being this bad economically. And I was thinking about when I was poor. And there was a phenomenon that the poor used in those days, which I don't know if this still exists. And that was what I would call dyeing as a new garment deception technique. So you would have a white shirt, which you would then dye blue, as if you'd got a new shirt.
Right, I see.
And I don't know if do people still dye clothes?
Interesting. The only thing, I mean, I've heard of people, it's quite common to, commonplace, I should say, to dye one's wedding dress, isn't it?
Is it?
To use, so then it can be a nice evening wear garment.
Isn't it recognised? What about the veil? Do you ditch the veil?
You don't need the veil.
No.
But also nice black sort of goth vibe, maybe.
But it's dyeing. It was honestly, I mean, my mum would, dye something a different colour deliberately. I'm talking about the red sock in the. Has that gone?
No, the last time I did anything.
Can I say
in
that
area,
Molly and Faye are both looking at me as if they dye clothing every day of the week?
They're quite make-doing men, though.
Are they?
Yeah, and that was quite trendy, the crocheting, the Gen Z like all that, don't
yes,
they?
quilt making.
Yeah, crafts, they love crafts.
Oh, man. What is it?
Etsy.
What about it? What is Etsy?
I'll deal with this, Pierre.
Okay.
No, you deal
Leap
with it.
in.
Fine. No, go on.
It's a sort of handmade craft version of eBay.
Oh,
If you
okay.
make your own jewellery, you can sell it on Etsy.
Is it like the Yorkshire version of eBay?
No, do you know
eBay
what?
gone.
Oh, lovely. Frank, you would actually like Etsy because there's a lot of lovely sort of Doctor Who figurines.
Oh, yeah.
Is that
Things like
handcrafted?
that. Yeah.
I'll tell you what puts me off is one of the most excruciating experiences I find is if you go to a craft fair and you think, I actually don't mind those made out of dog's tooth key rings that they've got, and you pick it up and you say, oh yeah, and the person is there, and I say, yeah, well, they're nice. How much are they? And they'll say £23.50, and it's that. The putting down and walking away. How do you do that?
Yeah.
And I tend to go, okay, they're nice. And I'll say to them, they're nice, aren't they? They're nice, as if we're going to, I'll put that. I'll say to them, let's have a wander around. And what I mean to say is, no, that's wrong. I don't want that then, you scoundrel.
It's too confronting.
Oh,
it's like
man,
the
it's
artist
awful.
standing in the gallery in front of the painting.
No, they shouldn't be there, the people who make them and stuff. They should not be there. That's just awkward.
What if they had a sort of rotation system where everyone runs the stall to their left?
That would be better.
And then when they say it's £23.50 and you go, that's much, and you go, I know, it's just a
Terrible.
disgusting bracelet.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful. Maybe you want to look at those scarves made out of willow bark
Just
on my store.
But what I like about the craft fair is that they're still clinging on to the white sticker for the pricing. You know, the tiny round white sticker. You don't see that so often these days.
Look, God bless them. It's like I watch Antiques Roadshow.
Congratulations.
I tell you what I like about it as a comedian. It is the Antiques Roadshow is the spiritual home of laughing at things that aren't funny.
Yes.
You know, that sort of middle-class filling in of silence. There's a great deal of that. So Fiona Bruce will say, well, I don't think... so that's £10,000, and Fiona Bruce will say, well, I don't think I'll be wearing that down to the fish and chip shop. Gets enormous laughter from everyone around, and everyone thinks, that's it, life is okay. There wasn't a silence there for us to think about our inner beings. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And the thing is, I've told you this before, but me and my partner shout "gotted" quite often when we watch Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
So they'll say, yes, we've had these medals in the family for years, my great-grandfather's medal. And he said, yes, well, of course, he said they have, tremendous emotional value. At auction, probably between £150 and £200. And me and Kath both shout, "Gotted," because they are the people you can see, and they go, oh, and they are Oh, got it. Utterly got it.
Frank, whenever they say, "Oh, as much as that,"
Yeah.
with a slight note of disappointment in the voice.
It's a show also that refuses to accept that Google exists. Surely, just Google it. You got a vase, Google it. I'll tell you what it's worth.
Got a full name and address on the base of the vase.
And sometimes they'll say, this vase been in the family for years, much beloved, and they'll say, okay. I think an auction you could get £70 to £80 for it. No go. They say, well, I wouldn't part with it. Open bracket. Now. Now I know it's worth nothing.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've heard from our lovely readers, and morning, Elvis. How are things? Helen Hayward has got in touch with us.
Oh, yeah.
Morning. Dyeing is definitely very popular in my house. Not just clothes, but bedding.
Bedding.
And hair.
Hair, yeah, but hair I'm not including in this. Because hair is generally, it's an affectation, the dyeing of hair. The dyeing of clothes, I think, can be a practical thing.
If you dye your hair, people don't think you've bought new hair.
No, never. What if you tie-dye your hair? I suppose highlighting is tie-dyed hair.
Yes, tie-dyed. Sharon has also got in touch. Nice, classic, simple. Hi, Frank and team. I bought a dress a while back. I didn't like the pattern. Dyed it black. Now wearable.
See,
and then
I
she's
think
done a thumbs up emoji.
It does still exist. That makes me happy. Did I tell you the other week that my partner Kath said to me, I saw blah blah, one of those people who dyes his teeth. And I thought, I've never heard it. I don't think I've ever heard it called that. She meant whiten.
Oh.
But it is dyeing, is it not?
She didn't mean ritually dyes his teeth
No.
using a sort of red clay.
Not different. Not like I had a cleaner once who came in with alternate orange fingernail, yellow fingernail. And she said, I'm going to Ibiza next week and this is sea and sand.
Oh.
I loved it.
We've also heard from someone who just refers to themselves as Cardiff, from Cardiff.
Oh, yeah.
Dear Frank Skinner, long-time reader, first-time caller, I recently met someone who said that you were on their Mount Rushmore of comedy. Praise ever present but faithfully redacted. That's from Cardiff.
That's good.
It's actually Irene from Cardiff.
How many presidents are on? Is it 4?
Four. But I believe they feel there was room for a fifth, but wasn't there a thing where the sculptor just abandoned the project?
I think
he just thought, I've done 4 now, that's it.
Wasn't there a story, and it could be, that Donald Trump investigated whether there was room?
I think he almost certainly did.
Checked out for vacancies. Imagine saying to a PA, will you check out for vacancies on Rushmore? So who's on there, Pierre? Yeah. Lincoln, Washington.
Lincoln and Washington.
And one of them's got
Jefferson.
spectacles.
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Roosevelt and Jefferson.
Because I thought that was a bold move by the sculptor to go for spectacles. Hard to know what decision to make with that.
Hard to carve. Do you carve a flat surface of spectacle and paint the eyes on?
No, you
never
can't do that.
I like joke glasses.
No, that would look like the magnifying glass joke in Airplane.
Yes.
No, you can't do that. How did he do it? Has he just got like blank spectacles like he's welding?
I think
Who's the fourth one then?
It's Jefferson, Roosevelt.
Oh, Jefferson's on there. Oh,
yeah.
I wouldn't recognise Jefferson if you walked in here now. No idea what Jefferson looked like.
Be quite the guest.
Yeah, he would. And later on we got Thomas Jefferson on the show, who's flown in from Rushmore.
They should have. I mean, it's a shame. They should have carried on. You can't just abandon something like that. Or they'll leave it at those 4.
Yeah, I know. It should have been added to all the time. Like I'd like the oil paintings of prime ministers at number 10 Downing Street.
Or just like when you start writing a big sign at school, but you rapidly realise your initial letters are far too big.
Yeah.
So the size of the president's head gets gradually
Yeah, so they're
smaller.
like tiny little.
Got to fit them all in. Oh God.
Yeah.
tiny little... what is it that Samuel Johnson said about Milton, that he could carve a mighty monument, but he couldn't cut a face into a cherry stone? Meaning that he was great on big epics, but not so good on little short poems. Quite clever, I thought. Absolute Radio. Real music matters.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've heard from... Yeah, you see, talking of Ultra Magnus, one of our regulars... He says, I believe that John Bon Jovi dyes his teeth a shade of very, very light blue. They're actually sharp white.
I've seen John Bon Jovi's teeth from very close up.
Oh, congratulations.
And I don't know if they've changed much, but they are the teeth that stick in my mind of when I first realised that the whole teeth thing was changing. Because, you know, in teeth you get grooves and slight, you know, indentations, but they were like piano keys. They were absolutely flat on the surface, the ones he had. So they didn't look like he hadn't whitened them. It was like a fence. He'd built a sort of glowing white fence. I didn't notice the blue tint. I know in the Superman comics, the tint on his hair was always blue. The idea that his hair was so black.
The Reagan black. It's interesting when I watch my dating shows, and I love my dating shows. Often the ladies will say, when they say, "What are you looking for?" It's usually in the top 3 requirements is, and I've got to have someone with veneers.
Really?
Which always strikes me as odd that they're saying, I've got to have someone whose teeth were so bad that they had to be filed down and new ones were placed on them. It seems an odd request. I mean, if they said, I want nice teeth, they don't say, I want nice teeth. They say, he's got to have veneers.
Well, I knew someone who was absolutely ahead of the curve with dating. She went to a dating agency when they were called Lonely Hearts. And she had to do an interview and fill in a form. There was no internet or anything. And they said that the most commonly ticked box of absolute essentials in a partner was must live within 5-mile radius. And I think that says so much about like the area and the time, and because it's like, yeah, I'm absolutely in love with this guy, but I'm not catching the 2 buses.
I mean, he was my soulmate and he happened to live 3.5 miles away. What are the chances? Isn't it amazing?
But I also got a friend who said that when she was asked that she wouldn't go out with anyone under 5'10". That was her first thing that she put down. So we've all got our different priorities for dating.
See, that's never bothered me.
Yeah?
I'm a fan of the Napoleon types.
No, I reckon... you went out with Rod Steiger, didn't you, in the 80s?
It's one of the very few people I didn't go out with in the 80s.
Yeah.
082, morning team, at my boarding school, in already.
Yeah.
When you got your first single or double room, as opposed to dormitory... the done thing was to steal bed sheets and tie-dye them and hang them on the walls. These were called drapes. More sophisticated boys would buy proper ones from Ken Market. Other essentials were red light bulbs, joss sticks, a good stereo system, preferably by some artisan British manufacturer, and, of course, ashtrays.
Oh, it sounds...
That's from Jimmy. The face is one of our regulars.
Keith painted an enormous mushroom cloud on his bedroom. Oh.
What is it? A political act?
Yeah, political act, yeah. With the CND symbol.
Adorable.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Pro or against the huge mushroom cloud?
No, I think he was against nuclear.
I bet our Keith, although I bet our Keith had a few ashtrays in his room.
Yeah, you don't meet like fiercely pro-nuclear protesters, do you? Is there no alternatives to CND with it when they really like nuclear stuff? Well,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Pierre Novellie is with us this morning, and I read some cracking reviews of your Edinburgh show.
Oh, thank you very much.
I mean, you come back on a wave of triumph. I weren't sure. I was expecting a cancellation this morning. How are you going to keep Pierre down on the farm now that he's seen Paris?
Did you see Harry?
I did. I'm too good for milking cows now. That's what I think.
I knew it.
Oh, thank you, not to refer to me. So did his show do well, Frank?
Well, the stuff I read, it was great.
It was a good month. Thank you to the listeners who came. Got a lot of people on the way out saying they'd heard me on this show.
Okay.
Which is good. No, I don't think I met Simon of Sudbury or any regulars, but...
you can't have everything.
You can't have everything.
I don't know how many of our people are legally allowed to travel. With the tagging and the curfews, very difficult.
Also, a lot of black T-shirts, the Absolute listeners. They don't like the summer.
Yeah, tour dates on the back.
Yep.
Yeah. So, how was it generally a brilliant Edinburgh?
It was good. It was interesting. It's the first real one since pre-COVID, first big one. Mm-hmm. It was interesting to try and sort of... I felt more like a sort of market stall trader than I normally do, kind of eyeing up the Royal Mile and the number of crowds and saying, good day for trading or bad day for trading. You know, that's quite satisfying.
Okay.
Did you have one of those leather pouches on that they used to have with change? They've got.
And I was just yelling, rash jokes! Just screaming.
I wish it was more like that. I imagine that's what Bartholomew Fair was like in London.
Yeah.
Was all sorts of strange entertainments. One man who wore a leather dragon outfit and told a sort of medieval tale.
Oh, my ultimate nightmare.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. No, well, it's...
and what did you... where did you stay? Did you have accommodation in the...
No, he slept rough.
Well, I haven't finished, but anyway.
Well, because of the big rental issues, we ended up staying sort of an hour's walk out of town. So
dear.
You could sort of trudge in and reflect on the previous day's show.
That's always good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
To have a bit of an airlock between you and the madness, I think. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Also, walking back if you've had a great show is fantastic.
Striding.
It's like flying.
I hope you had some disasters, though, whilst you were up there.
Oh
no.
I enjoyed. I put on quite a bit of weight. I think just from the kind of random late night meals and things like that, and I enjoyed the attempts by local restaurants at what they think is price gouging. But if you live in London and you've tasted real gouging, you know,
Yeah.
and you go in and we got told by the people printing our flyers that all the restaurants come in and get new menus printed the week before the Fringe. With higher
really?
prices, quickly laminate them, quick. And if you go to the Chippies, they haven't really bothered with that level of effort. They've just put a post-it note with sort of 6 over the 4 in a $4.99 fish supper.
I think that's fair enough. I think if you're going to be invaded for a month, you should be able to cash in a bit.
I don't begrudge the food outlets, but what I like is that they don't understand who they're dealing with, do they? When it's people from London, as if they're sort of getting one over on you. Oh, that'll be $4. No, $6.99.
Don't tell them.
No, God, no. If they see what we paid for a kebab in London, though, there'd be no stopping them.
Okay. I feel it's out there now. You've spoilt it for all those people going next year.
I do.
Anyway.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Pierre Novellie. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or you can email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk. What do you think? What's your choice?
Boys, I would like to discuss, I think it's Sir Lewis Hamilton now.
Yes.
Is it? Oh, yes.
Favourite movie?
His favourite movie? Grand Prix.
Herbie Goes Bananas.
I love knowing a sports person's favourite movie. It never disappoints. Cool Runnings. Good choice.
I don't know. Cool Runnings. Should I?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
It's about the Jamaican bobsleigh team. Is it not? You remember that one?
Yes, of course.
I think, in fact, it might be on Michael Owen's top 10.
Is it really?
You know, he's only seen... Well, I say top 10. He's only seen 10 movies. He confirmed that when I met him.
And what about Sir Alex Ferguson's?
Oh, I think we know Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit. He said, I'm not one of these people who's just like... He said, I'm not like Arsene Wenger who's just watching like Bundesliga football on a Tuesday night. He said, I've got a bit more of a broad view of the world. My favourite film is Seabiscuit. It's about horse racing. Yeah, not fallen too
Arsene
far
Wenger
from the
watching
tree.
the Ingmar Bergman film. Now, I adore Lewis Hamilton, and I'll tell you why.
Is he a short king?
Frank's learned a new phrase,
I have.
and he's so... Will you explain, Frank? You got so excited in the break.
Well, the ubiquitous Faye was telling me there's a thing called a short king, where that's a bloke who's good with being short. And then Molly, her assistant, said you could have a short king summer.
Can you?
Where you can think, you know what, I'm gonna hang around with a short king.
Well, it's a hybrid. It's a mashup of Hot Girl Summer, and we had to explain. But
I've never heard of a short king before, though, and it's someone who's very okay with it all.
Self-assured, yeah.
Like the one in Shrek.
Yes.
No, actually.
not like the one in Shrek.
He actually is a short king, but he's quite insecure.
You've taken it too literally. It's not a Clopper Castle or something.
No.
You can't.
I'd never heard it before, so I'm still working my mind around it.
Okay, well, think of a perfect short king for you presently.
Would Tom Cruise be a short king?
100. Well
Okay.
done. And would you say? Yeah, we're getting a nod from Faye.
It's hard
Okay.
because he's never depicted as short in films. They're always filming
Well, I don't like what you're suggesting.
at an angle.
Like Alan Ladd. Alan Ladd was a Hollywood leading man, and he had to stand on the box, which he was less keen on, or they would dig a trench for walking shots that you had to walk in. Yeah.
Apparently the average height of a sort of Hollywood leading man is below average or shorter than you'd think.
How tall are you, Pierre?
6'4",
Yeah,
6'3".
I thought you would stay out of it.
Yeah.
It's all right for some.
So Lewis,
I used to be 5'10" and a half. I'm about 5'9" now.
what happened?
I've stooped.
Oh,
You stoop to this.
I've stooped. I think I have physically stooped.
you've gone a bit.
I have the look of an old
Pedestrian sign.
retainer about me. You know, the faithful old butler. That's
Have you got
my
a bit,
look now.
Old people crossing sign?
Yeah, exactly. I've got that thing, where I need a stick, really.
Yeah.
I had a stick once. I did my backing, and I had a walking stick. I must say I quite liked it.
This is what's great for the goths. It's very anti-aging.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that the transition is very easy. You just think, no, I've always had this stick.
Oh, yeah.
I've always had this cane.
Alice Cooper had a cane for years.
You've always worn Victorian clothes. You haven't been out in the sun, so there's not a lot of aging from the sun.
Yeah, but you do know that I was in suspended animation in a block of ice under a London shop, and I am actually from 1861.
Can I say we've got a Short King nomination? First up,
Go on.
Stephen Graham. I'm down for that.
Oh, good one.
Yeah.
Good one. I didn't know what a short king was 20 minutes ago, and now it's a texting.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Sir Lewis Hamilton, he and I have something in common. Okay?
Okay.
And he once listed the 3 things he hates the most, and on his list was onions.
Oh, okay. Then he is a kindred spirit.
I saw him pranked once, and the prank was someone left an onion on his dashboard. And he goes, he's screaming, he's terrified of it.
Really?
Yeah. He went, get away from me.
If I was a policeman called in to that crime, you're gonna want to talk to Verstappen, aren't you? Isn't that your first? Eh? That's your first interview, isn't it?
Excuse me, could I just smell your hands?
Exactly.
Trying to see if,
Well, no, it's not. No, come here.
see if he's been crying recently.
So on his list, he has a couple of things. One was onions. He says he also hates wasting time.
Wasting time, yeah.
That's one of his pet hates. And traffic.
Wasting time in traffic are very race driver things to be against, aren't they?
I like the idea of avoiding traffic by becoming a Formula. So there's just a lot more room on the roads.
Well, he did say recently there was published a list of things he hates the most as well. But apparently also on this is driving on normal roads.
Yes.
And he said there's just so much going on. It's too stressful. And then rather brilliantly he added, I try not to do things that don't add to my life.
Oh.
Okay.
Your witness.
I don't know what he means by that, but I'm presuming I read a thing with him, which I think is probably from this same interview, where he was driving in France with the interviewer, and he said, I made a note of this, he said, look, we're on these roads, anything can happen. Well, he's got a point. I suppose there's less things that can happen on a Formula One.
That's
track.
true.
But when they happen...
That's true. If you're a Formula One driver and you're used to driving with only the very elite of a highly trained cadre of drivers, and then someone goes, would you like to have a go with just anyone?
But also there's things like, when does he ever have to do a 3-point turn?
Yeah.
Maybe when he's doing an exhibition for one of his sponsors, because he's got a brand, and I'm not, we're not doing a read, but he's sponsored by Monster Energy. And what I like...
What is that?
It's a drink.
Oh, okay.
And what I like is he's sometimes forced to give quite serious press interviews and refer to this drink. So
Monster.
he'll say...
Do you remember Nigel Kennedy used to say monster a lot as it was absolute monster symphony. I love that. Brilliant. Gone.
But occasionally he'll have to say, and he'll have to sort of say things in interviews and he'll refer to it quite seriously.
Really?
And it's very hard to sound dignified. Because they'll say things like, I'm working with such a cool brand with Monster Energy.
I mean, to be fair to him, he's probably a bit short of money, so he needs to do that.
But he says, he tries to crowbar in and he said, I'm working with, I get to work with some Monster athletes, and he uses it.
Does he? Monster. Does he say that? I think you've got to say it as Nigel Kennedy if you're going to use it.
He's
Maestro.
Fully absorbed the brand. It's also.
But why though? How much money do these people need?
How much land does a man need?
It's also an energy drink that's mostly associated with people playing World of Warcraft for 36 hours straight.
Is it?
Yeah. So
Do they sit in those terrible high-backed football manager chairs? That's nothing more depressing. When I see a YouTube video when someone's so committed to a sedentary lifestyle and they've bought one of the football manager chairs.
Those things that look like they're from an aeroplane that managers sit in.
Gaming chairs.
You need a gaming chair.
So it's actual a gaming... That's what that is, a gaming chair.
They've all got them, the YouTubers. They have a gaming chair. They spend so much time sitting there.
Yeah.
And what is it? Supports all your...
It's got a sort of headrest thing. And like you say, it looks like a sort of fighter pilot's chair.
It looks like a nylon throne.
I like the idea of a nylon throne. That, to me, sums up sort of what's happened to the modern world. People on a nylon throne.
Like short kings.
It is like a gossamer prince.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I just wondered while we were talking then, why is it called a dashboard?
Well, Steve Burgess has said, I was waiting for Frank to girlfriend in a coma onion on a dashboard. Bit disappointed, to be honest.
Oh, okay. I'll do it now for you.
Thank you.
Onion on a dashboard, I know, it's serious. Why is it called a dashboard?
Good question.
Pierre, I look to you as a man to know this. We had many dark nights in our tour bus.
Dear.
On the motorway, talking about everything that ever happened in the history of the world. And Pierre usually has an amazing fact. You don't know what a dashboard, why?
No, I'm going to have to just make the obvious guess. Something to do dashing about. Not sure. It's not.
Will it be a Morse code related thing? That's the only.
Well, it is long and thin and black, like a dash on Morse code.
That's true.
And maybe the wheels represent two.
Two dots.
Yeah.
It's largely guesswork right now.
I hope it's not that, because that's rubbish.
If it's that and you've guessed that, you need to buy a lottery ticket.
I think, yeah.
No, he doesn't actually.
No, but I will anyway.
He's the last person who needs to buy one.
On my behalf.
So Sir Lewis, as we were talking about, he doesn't like traffic. He doesn't like driving on normal roads.
This is my partner, Kath, can drive. She's passed the test. She doesn't drive. And her argument is that she can drive perfectly well, but she can't do roundabouts. And it is very restricting for general driving. But I presume she could be a Formula One
Yes.
driver. Although,
Yes.
is a racetrack, could that be seen as part of the roundabout family?
One enormous, very fast roundabout.
Well, there's a lot of chicanes.
I mean, is the M25 a roundabout?
The world's largest, perhaps.
Interesting.
Lovely question to pose. It's a very Pebble Mill at one thing.
Can I just tell you what I thought was one of the most? You know, there are some things I've spoken before about when I was filming with Chaz and Dave, and they were late, and the researcher phoned and said, "I'm sorry, I can't." They made me stop at a pie and mash shop, and I thought that is fine, because I love news which tells me that all is as I see the world. That's how it is.
Yes.
And there was a drive-in story about Roy. Do you remember Roy Chubby Brown, the adult comedian?
I do,
It's a nice one to get.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was stopped on the A19 in Yorkshire by the police because he was driving whilst reading the Sun newspaper. All is well with the world.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Well, speaking of words and their origin, Steve Burgess has saved me from my own ignorance by writing in Read the Origin of Dashboard.
Good.
He says, or claims, horse carriages had fixtures on the front to act as a barrier. These were boards of wood or leather to protect the occupants from dirt or mud. And when a horse kicks up debris, it is also referred to as being dashed up. Not sure if this is correct, he hedges.
Okay.
But I like it.
That sounds like
A mud god.
a posh person saying you're quite a bullion. You're dashed up, aren't you?
Or like the very euphemistic way of describing the horrors of the First World War. He was awfully dashed up.
That's a lot.
You go, oh, I'm going to imagine what that means, but it's not good. Ugh.
Another one of Lewis Hamilton's fears was spiders.
Yes, that did surprise
Original.
me.
Well, it surprised that he said, a lot of people. He said he told someone, and they said again, I quote, he said, "I tell people I'm frightened of spiders, and people say, dude, you drive around 200 miles per hour." Does he live with Beavis and Butthead?
Surely
In
they'd be
Switzerland.
saying, surely,
Have they moved to Switzerland now to avoid tax?
surely,
Beewitz und Butthit.
if they were saying dude anything, it would have to be where's my car?
Exactly. I mean,
Dude.
I
Yes, he
don't see
said-
why driving 200 miles an hour means you can't be frightened of spiders.
It's a more pedestrian fear.
I have in my office. I have a sink,
All right, Alan Sugar.
and I put my hand in the sink, and there was like candy floss in there, and I thought that's weird, and it was all over the tap, and then the biggest spider I've ever seen appeared at the back, and I realised this was it had emanated from the spider, some sort of terrible candy floss type webbing. Thick and sticky. And this spider was the biggest I've seen in the United Kingdom outside of some sort of exhibition.
How large a sort of
It's impossible to honestly describe a big spider.
true. Yeah.
Just take it from me, I was genuinely frightened.
Yeah.
I took its life. I was frightened.
Exaggerate.
I was so
You're making it a bit
frightened.
grander than it was. I took its life.
You've reminded me,
I killed him. Pardon.
I took
You reminded me. I shot a man in
I shot a man.
Pierre
in
would say that.
Bloemfontein in the 80s.
He came out of my sink covered in candy floss, and
He was asking for it.
You reminded me.
Some sort of roustabout.
at the
And then he'll say ghastly business.
No, what did I remind you
I
of?
dashed him up. When I was at the Fringe performing at the Monkey Barrel, there's a sort of big Monkey Barrel sign behind you on the stage. And I was doing my show and a guy in the front row gasped and pointed above my head, which is never a good sign from the front row in a crowd. And I sort of ignored him, but then I saw consternation spread among the other people not in his group. So I thought, okay. And I said, what is it? And he said, spider. Sort of a single word.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, this is the UK. How big can they, this is a silly distraction. I turned around and fair play. It was
a biggie.
It looked like it had an address.
Oh,
It could
man.
Big.
But your candy floss could have been, because are you familiar with the custom, the male spider, the gifts that they present to the female? They wrap insects up in webbing.
Okay.
And they do, have you ever seen this? And they do a sort of dance holding the gift, which they present. But sometimes it's a fake, they dupe them. They pretend it's an insect in the webbing, but it's actually a carcass.
Oh. Well, I didn't. There might have been stuff. It was all on my hands. I was just in a panic. I was in an absolute tizzy.
You would have made such a gift, Frank.
I know.
What an enormous prize.
My great sister.
Hell of a dance.
Frank doing the dance in the pants with webbing on.
Much loved comedian Frank Skinner, ladies and gentlemen. Gift wrapped. My best ever spider spectacle was I saw a wasp get caught in a spider's web. And the spider went over to collect his meals. And the sting went into the spider, and I just watched. So the pulping posterior pumping out this poison, and the spider's legs sort of extending and contracting in horror as the poison pumped in. Breakfast radio, ladies and gentlemen. If it was Attenborough, I'd get a BAFTA for that. All I'll get now is complaints.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
So Lewis Hamilton frightened of spiders. So here's one of his. He said, because I'm frightened of spiders, I always stay in high hotel rooms
Monster
to
hotel
avoid
rooms.
them.
Monster.
Yeah. They
Do you think anyone's told Lewis the bad news? Spiders and climbing.
Yeah, I imagine his friend said, spiders, they climb. Yeah, they climb.
Look out! Here comes the Spider-Man, Strictly style.
Yeah, it's not going to work, that, Lewis.
No, if I was Lewis Hamilton and I had access to the sort of funds he does, I would book a very high hotel room, and then directly beneath my hotel room, I'd make them fill a room with flies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a better.
Or get a bird, get a pet bird.
Yes, yeah, pet.
I'm presuming. I mean, I'm getting my zoology here from the old woman who swallowed a fly. That's where I get my nature.
You can't
information
have a pet
from.
bird. It's a bit sort of Dickensian.
People always had pet birds when I was.
Do they?
Yeah, in cages,
That's nice. You're making it sound I'll make it sound more reasonable. Yeah, in cages.
I think Lewis Hamilton would be a much more of a sort of traditional British sporting eccentric if he had some sort of macaw.
Yeah,
They just carry it with him everywhere.
What I would like is when you got a shot inside the cockpit or whatever, and the macaw is like horizontal because of the G-force. You can just see the knuckles on the shoulder.
Bald within a week from stress, that bird.
Yeah, just a slight trail of feathers going down the track.
Oh, I think every Formula One driver should have to drive with a bird. So you can choose the bird.
Well,
choose your
James
bird.
Hunt certainly did.
You can choose, Frank, but you've got to have a bird.
Emu.
What?
Head out the top, whipping backwards.
Oh, no.
Oh no! And then you'd have a
That'd be
slight
terrible.
crow, like a goth. The goth Formula One would go
Yes.
for the crow, obviously.
Yes.
The raven.
Crow, yeah. There are no goth Formula One. They're not interesting enough to be goths.
A goth petrol head would be a funny.
They started that terrible shoey trend, didn't they?
What's that?
Do you know what a shoey is?
No.
It's quite an Aussie thing. Oh, no, you're doing a shoey. it's drinking a beverage
Out of a shoe.
Out of the shoe. So the boy will be in a bar, and suddenly everyone will start shouting "shoey," and he'll remove the shoe and hold it aloft and drink it. But the Formula Ones.
But this comes from the 18th century tradition where stage door Johnnies would drink champagne from an actress's slipper as a homage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do that these days. You don't want to drink it out of some.
No, you wouldn't want to drink it. I think if you did that now, that would probably be career ending.
I wouldn't like to see. That would really put me off someone doing a shoey.
Can you imagine, like, Dame Judi Dench saying that I caught Frank Skinner drinking, what would it be? Apple ties from one of me size 5s. I mean,
Kate Winslet, you'd be
Kate,
pretty tanked up.
I couldn't drink that much. Kate. 9.5 UK.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a pint, isn't it?
Yeah. As I always used to say, can't watch TV in bed.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Pierre Novellie. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via frank@absoluteradio.co.uk.
Ultra Magnus, one of our regulars. Did we
Yeah.
meet Ultra Magnus in person? I think we did. Ultra Magnus came to see us. Lovely. He was charming. And
With Mrs. Modness.
I love Mrs. Modness.
Omar Modness.
I don't think we should refer to her in that way.
Okay.
If the M25 is a roundabout, then everyone who lives within its boundaries has been sleeping on the central reservation.
Nothing wrong with that. I did that through most of the 80s.
Oh, it's a shame.
We always called them islands in Birmingham, not roundabouts.
Oh. Did you do it to make your sleeping arrangements seem more glamorous?
Yes, exactly. My island retreat.
My island paradise.
Islands in the stream. I think I might have released some streams on the island. But we won't go to that, sir.
Let's return to Simon of Sudbury. I mean, he is...
I thought it was Ultra Modness. We've done him.
That was Ultra Magnus.
Okay.
I'm just going to one of our other regulars. I appreciate, he's a heavy...
There's only 6 people listening to this show. We all just talk to each other. I mean, we could meet in some sort of booth.
Yes.
I would say, I beg to differ. I would call them quality content providers.
That really reminded me of that Phil Collins. I feel so lonely when you're not. You know that one?
Yes, I enjoy that one. It's on the Genesis album.
Is it?
It's simply called I think it is. I may be wrong. It's one with That's All and Mama and all those ones.
I don't
know a man who will know. Do you, Frank?
I do, but I don't know Genesis very well. I never got
David
into
Baddiel
that.
loves Genesis.
Is that right?
I like Genesis, the book of the Bible. But
The original.
Yeah, exactly.
597. How about a pet gecko for Lewis? He could keep it zipped up in his racing jacket and stick it in his hotel room wall at night. Stick it to. I'm sorry.
They eat spiders, do they? Geckos.
Yeah. It's a lovely idea.
Yeah.
I guess they eat insects brackets general.
What would you call it? What would the name be?
The actual name for the gecko?
I'd call it Michael, after reminiscent of Michael Greco, who was in EastEnders.
Yeah, it'd be more original than Gordon. I'm sure. I bet there were a lot of geckos called Gordon around the time Wall Street came out, Frank.
A rush.
Yes.
A rush on them. Well, speaking of songs and song lyrics and origins and so on, we've got some previous.
Do we have a jingle, Frank, for previous?
I don't think we do we?
Do you want to just do one? You're quite good
Well,
at
speaking
things.
of jingles, by the way, I don't know if you remember when we talked about... There was a week of tremendous discovery for me when I found out that a pine marten wasn't a bird.
Yes.
And we looked up pine martens, and apparently they're quite savage
The bouncers
creatures.
of the animal world.
Was it something of destruction? What was it?
No, it says they operate a landscape of fear. And I said that sounded like a Bond theme and sang it. And, occasionally our clever readers take some part of the show and turn it into something more grand. Get your ears around this. Frank Skinner is James Bond in Landscape of Fear.
got a landscape of fear. Landscape.
What is pine, Martin?
It isn't a bird. It isn't a plane.
But we need a landscape of fear.
Landscape of fear.
Landscape.
They're coming here
Landscape.
for their landscape of fear.
Landscape.
They're
Got a
coming
landscape of
here.
fear.
It's Pine Martin Freeman. Yes, I don't
Genuinely
know.
very good.
Can I say?
Stuart White.
Stuart
did that.
White.
I love Stuart White. Thank you, Stuart White. It's absolutely brilliant.
He did
if
a great
If
job.
I do say so
Whitey.
myself.
Good job, Whitey. Different class.
Frank, you sound great.
Really good.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that Bond theme call.
That'd be
But
good.
it's probably too late now.
You'd be
I'll have to
appearing-
settle for my 4 number 1 records.
It's got a bit big-headed now. Hate it. Frank, Pierre was just taking
yes.
us down into Provenance Corner.
Yes, speaking of song lyrics.
Yes.
Paul Simon, says Bob. Paul Simon held a party at his New York apartment, and one of the guests was clearly at the wrong party. As he left, he said to Paul Simon, "Great party, Al, and give my love to Betty." That became Call Me Al,
Oh.
So that's the provenance of that.
claims Bob.
I wonder who he thought he was there.
I mean, you'd think you'd recognise.
Yeah, especially in the white cap. Perhaps you mistook him for one of the Rubettes.
Is he a bit of a short king, Paul Simon?
Is he? I don't know, because Art's hair was so high. It gives you a
Just
false.
to mention the fact that he's called Art.
Well, I think it's Arthur, isn't it?
Exactly, but who called Arthur? Besides Art, isn't it?
Well, Arthur Garfunkel. It's a bit of a. It's a roller coaster of a.
There's all
name.
sorts of choices. There's all sorts of things you can do with that name. Artie.
I think that. Yeah, Artie
It
Garfunkel.
can't be
No.
Art. It's
I like it. But he was one of those who should have dwelt in High Barnet.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Matt Finch. We're still in previously corner.
Okay.
Matt Finch has been in touch.
Yeah.
Robert Plant has frequented the same pub near his home for many years. One entrance to the pub is called the Outdoor for takeaway sales,
Yeah.
and you can use this door to enter the pub.
That was what we called off licences in the West Midlands when I was a
Really?
kid. So we go nip into the outdoor.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
well, you'll be all over this language then. This led to the Led Zeppelin album being called In Through the Outdoor. Prince later used the line in Raspberry Beret, or
Okay.
Raspberry Beret.
Yeah.
You can play either. By the way, he's got a joke. I think you might know the answer to this.
Okay.
He's got a sort of dialect joke.
Do you want to do the honours?
I can try. By the way, what's the difference between a buffalo and a bison?
Frank?
You can't wash your hands in a buffalo.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
you call, can you?
literally word for word, letter, consonant and vowel.
Yes.
Exactly how it's been
I
written.
miss those jokes that don't work anywhere else.
Landscape-specific gags.
Yeah. But, you know, it's good.
Landscape.
It's a landscape-specific gag. Ooh. But we have a special show next week, by the way, to celebrate the anniversary of the death of Peter Mark Roget, who died on next Sunday. The man who invented Roget's thesaurus.
Oh.
Oh, right.
So I look forward. Any Roget facts you've got? Any of your favourite listings?
You'll be commemorating, remembering, marking.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Was
Do you know what it was with? You know what happened with Roget? He
Funnily
suffered,
enough, no.
suffered with depression, and one way he coped with it was making lists. He used to make massive lists, and in the end, he thought, I should use these.
I could sell these mad lists.
Yeah, and then he went with Roget's
Well, what I
thesaurus.
like is exactly, I'm afraid if he was marketing it now as a sort of YouTuber, they would just be called Mad Lists. It would
Yeah.
not be called
Yeah,
Roger's
they would.
Thesaurus.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that all his birthday card and Christmas card problems were sorted. Because that was his option, wasn't it? I bet that was his thing. I would have made that my thing. Have a happy, joyful...
Right.
Yeah,
That's what you would have done.
Everybody would have done that. Would have driven him crazy.
If I was Roger, I would constantly use the most niche word of all categories in order to increase sales.
Yeah.
I'd say, what does that mean? I'd say, well, buy one and find out.
Yeah.
That's what I'll tell you.
Well, I mean, I feel I've had that with Short King this morning. I've discovered something. I never even had any idea such a phrase existed.
It's pretty new.
I said off air, I think, didn't I? Maradona. I mean, he's possibly the ultimate
It'd
short
be more
king.
of a short presidente.
Generalissimo.
That's how I'd see it. So
We're still in
Previously land.
previously. We've had some other ones. Pierre, do you want to do the honours? We've had... Go on,
The history in pictures.
please.
We've had a message from who sent us history in pictures? Oh yes, Matt Penn. One up from the Tipton Slasher's monkey, he suggests. Corporal Jackie was a baboon in the South African Army in the First World War.
I mean, I'm in at Corporal Jackie.
Corporal Jackie, the baboon.
Corporal Jackie, I'm all over this.
He was made their mascot when his owner was drafted into the war. Jackie received various injuries, such as being shot on the shoulder and having his right leg blown off.
oh,
it's a shame.
man, they had no choice.
My great...
That's what it says on the animals in the war monument.
Yes. My great-grandfather was in the Somme in the South African infantry, and I don't recall any stories being passed down about how hard it was to administer first aid to Corporal Jackie.
No, I bet.
There's a lovely...
Corporal Jackie probably worked in the hospital, the field hospital.
Well, there
and
is
said things like, "Come on, I've only got 2 pairs of hands."
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We're talking about Corporal Jackie this morning on Absolute Radio, the baboon in the South African Army during World War One.
And Pierre told me in that break that something I didn't know, that baboons can operate as shepherds.
Yes, if trained, not freelance.
No, I don't mean just spontaneously.
Is it if trained?
I think if you raise them from, I guess, a pup, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think you can sort of get a bit of reliable work
babby.
out of them from a babby.
Yeah.
Can you though? Because guess what? Not happening on my watch.
No,
Not that I have a watch, but I'm not. I am not letting baboons near my flock.
no.
I wonder if they respond to whistles like sheepdogs.
Maybe it would be a hell of a thing to show up with at Crufts.
Oh, man.
Carnage.
Yeah, it would be great.
It wouldn't work with the Crofts look because you know they favour a pantsuit.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Crofts ladies these days with
That's
a
all
wide
right,
leg
'cause
trouser.
Jackie would be in full uniform.
Well, I can tell you exactly what Jackie would be in because I've done a deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
Jackie was given an official style uniform with a cap, a ration set, and his own paybook. Jackie would salute to superior officers and light soldiers' cigarettes. He would even stand at ease in the style of a trained soldier. Isn't that
Okay.
amazing?
Yeah.
And apparently it says due to his heightened senses, Jackie was very useful to sentries on duty at night because he'd sense an oncoming attack.
You wouldn't want to be a German soldier coming face to face with Jackie, would you? My word.
Not face to face. You'd be a bit of a short king.
A kleiner Kaiser.
Exactly. Exactly.
Any German listeners, do you have a Kleiner Kaiser concept?
Who is your kleiner Kaiser?
Who's your Kleiner? Oh,
I know
think
it would
might
have
be. I'm not sure it's suitable content.
No.
Really.
Has anyone ever called Hitler a short king?
Oh, he's done
They
it.
did call him a little corporal.
Oh, there you go.
So him and
I
Jackie
think
were
they called Jackie that. So.
they were equivalent rank in the same war.
Exactly. I love the fact how these two lives diverted. These two corporals.
There is a picture which I'm afraid is very cruel, we should say, of
Of Jackie.
Jackie taking tea, which is not...
No,
Absolute
that's it.
Radio does not
Look,
condone that.
I don't know what it is, but if you dress up any kind of simian,
Yes.
Yeah.
any ape or monkey, that always end. People won't resist getting the old teacups out.
That's true.
Because it used to be a thing at the zoo. They used to have the chimpanzees tea
Is that
party.
where it
used
comes
to be,
from?
Yeah, it used to be a standard thing.
Why did it start, I wonder? Why did the chimpanzee... I mean, I don't
Shivving
know.
each
It's
other with
very
porcelain
wrong.
fragments, I think.
We didn't know then.
Tea was a nice thing.
Yeah, exactly. We thought they liked it, but
I don't think they do like it.
I don't think I've ever worn a. You know, sometimes in the winter you wear a long sleeve black top and put a t-shirt over it. I've never done that without thinking of a chimpanzee. You know, the black arms coming underneath. I'm sorry, I don't know why I brought that up.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
We're doing, we're sort of lingering a bit in previously, and we've got one foot in previously, one foot in the outside world, the current outside world. We have one from Zoe J. Queen's Radio Gaga comes from Roger Taylor's son as a small child, saying that a song on the radio was radio, I think I can say this word.
Well, that's made everyone a bit nervous.
Well, I suddenly worried. I think it's okay. It's a child's word for deposits.
Okay.
Sounds a bit... rhymes with Gaga and begins with C, sort of.
Okay.
Are we allowed to say that? I'm not sure.
I
The
think,
producer's
well,
nodding. She says yes.
Surely.
It's
Okay.
on her head, be it. Okay?
Well, let's hope not. But, yeah, radio, okay. So did Lady Gaga take her name from Radio Gaga?
Surely.
Shirley as well. Yeah. Is that her name?
Shirley Gaga.
Shirley Gaga.
Full name.
Lady Shirley would be infinitely preferable. Don't you think? That sounds like a Thunderbirds character. Frank,
Yeah.
I've been listening to the Jerry Anderson podcast. You've got to get involved. And other
Yes.
things I never thought I'd say. Oh, they're great. Jerry Anderson's son is involved.
No, I know. I've been invited to do it, but
Well,
I don't.
you must.
I don't feel I know enough.
Okay.
And there are so many people on podcasts and things that don't have the qualifications to speak on those topics.
I know.
I don't want to be that person.
I know. I understand. Especially now.
Why now?
Well, because the podcasts have all got quite... It's all about Love Island. But that's okay. You know, there's room for everyone. Female silver foxes we also discussed. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. We were debating whether the fact there's so many male silver foxes and not
Yes.
many obvious female ones, that there's some sort of age and women wrongness going on.
An imbalance, a bias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, silver vixens, Steve Hewitt has suggested Emmylou Harris.
Yes, no, she is. I mean, this is one of the things is that I think women are more accustomed to dyeing their hair traditionally, so they're happy to not go.
Yes.
But yes, Emmylou Harris has gone proper silver and looks great.
And Helen, oh God,
Mirren.
Mirren.
Well, we had a debate about...
No, there's been a whole thing
Oh
about
no,
that.
what have I stepped into here?
No,
Is it Radio Gaga?
Yes.
Emily thinks that there's something... What colour did you call it?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. It's not... It's kind of a... There are various names for it, but it's a Beverly Hills blonde,
You
which
think-
is that... Yeah. It's
That
not...
doesn't sound good.
That is good, but it's that sort of golden blonde.
So it's not a natural colour.
No, it's sort of a grande, I'm going.
What about
a
Emmy?
grey
What-
blonde?
grande?
Right, grande.
I
I'm
like
calling it.
grande.
Okay, grande.
I think she's pulling an Andy Warhol.
Grande, yeah.
Well, he had a wig.
A wig and dyed his hair, tried dyeing his hair at some point. It's quite clever. It meant no one ever knew his age, and he was treated with a lot more sort of respect.
Well, didn't he just go
Reverence.
white very early? That's the way to do it. he
That's
Mr. C.
right. Andy Warhol impression. What if he'd spoken like that all the time? Would he have been a cult hero if that was how he spoke?
I think it would have been considered performance art, surely.
Yeah,
When
maybe.
was the last Mr. Punch show you went to? That question to Frank Skinner.
Well, I went to the Punch and Judy.
He answers it normally. Like, doesn't even pause to go, why are you asking me that
No, I
weird
went
question?
to the Punch and Judy festival at the church in Covent Garden,
Sure.
and I heard two Punch and Judy men talking, and one said, "Do you still do the hanging?" Apparently, it's been dropped by some people who've tried to be a bit more PC.
There's always a schism, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. So there's quite a lot of stuff that's a bit
PC
troublesome.
brigade ruining it for everyone else.
Yeah,
Right?
there is a PC in it, but he gets killed as well, I think.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Anna Banana,
Oh, yeah.
she very much enjoys They Had No Choice.
Okay.
She says it always makes her spit out her tea. And she feels it could be the KFC strapline, which is rather cool. Or any non-vegetarian establishment.
I think that KFC strapline should be battery hens.
Did you ever see the KFC, the Colonel biopic, by the way?
No.
Oh, we need to organise a screening of that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it was fabulous.
Did it have one of those incredibly contrived scenes where he sort of trips and knocks a lot of herbs and spices into a
there was
pile?
literally a scene with him, and it's a very, very muscled, sort of impossibly good-looking man saying, "You'll never know my secret recipe." It's honestly like that.
I think we had someone texting the show once. They were in something like Blackpool in 1969, and they saw him in a car, and he waved to them or something. I said there was a definite meeting. Colonel Sanders story someone sent in.
Yeah, I think there was.
Well, it's not quite to that level, but I think interesting question here for you, Frank, from Damo in Sheffield, who's not Australian, I assume, but I've decided that they
Well,
are.
a Scouse. I think
Damo.
the Damon throne, I would say, is retro Damon, our Damon from Brookside. Does he sit in the Damon throne?
Well, for me, it'd be the Omen. He's still,
Damien,
still
yes.
got that, all that. Oh, Damien.
Yes.
How much threat would Damien lose if you punched him in the arm and said, "All right, Damo"?
Yeah.
Sort of chummy Australian hang out with the Antichrist.
Damien, he favoured a Paul Simon cap, didn't he?
Spooky schoolboy.
Do you think anyone calls Helen Mirren Damo? Anyway, what's Damo got?
Damo says, "I'm listening on Absolute 80s, so apologies if someone has already messaged." And I like that sort of cautious humility. They haven't, needless to say. But is Frank's knowledge about Alan Ladd due to his research when he wrote his sitcom?
Oh, yes, because Alan
Which
Ladd
sitcom would that be?
Alan Ladd starred in Shane, the Western, which I called the thing Shane. But
Don't dismiss it by calling it The Thing.
The thing.
Yeah, I wrote a sitcom, but it was bad.
Did you do a second series at all?
I did write a second series. It was filmed, edited, dubbed, and is still in a vault at ITV.
Like at the end of Indiana Jones.
If you imagine the times on ITV, they must have, we got absolutely nothing to put on here. What about, no, there must be something else.
I said no, NCIS or something.
So they still paid for it. But
They paid for it. As Matthew Kelly said to me, who was in one of the episodes, we all got paid. Yeah. But
that's what matters really, Frank, isn't it? As Johnny Briggs once said to my mother, you may remember, you say your lines, you get paid, you go home, love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. What was the name of it? Baldwin's? What was the name of the factory? They sold, they made underwear.
Yes.
I can't remember.
One of our readers will know.
Yes.
You know what? One of our readers will definitely be getting in touch with that information.
One of our readers
Don't you
knows
worry.
everything, let's face it. So, we have a guest next week.
Shut up.
I don't know if I should
Are we
I?
allowed to say?
Well, the producer, because she's a stand-in, is not taking the responsibility. So I have to leave it. So I won't tell you, but we've got a guest next week. And we are done. Thanks. I'd love to end on that.
Lackluster sign off.
Yeah, I don't know where. I might lost her. has gone. But all that glisters is not gold.
Lovely, correct.
Oft misquoted.
Not Frank.
No, not Frank. So look, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.